Hello guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Miracle, maybe for short. If this is the first time seeing my beautiful face, you're welcome. So today's video is from John Stossel. He said Thomas Sowell versus left. Wow. Let's check it out.
After last summer's protests, experts declared what America must do for Black Americans.
The only way to close a wealth gap is by transferring wealth.
We have to abolish policing.
Reparations.
Listening to them, I kept hearing the voice of Tom Sowell.
I haven't been able to find a single country in the world where the policies that are being advocated for blacks in the United States have lifted any people out of poverty.
Sowell's an economist who writes great books about economics and culture. Today, he defends free markets and criticizes the conceit of political planners. But he once was a Marxist.
What was your wake up to what was wrong with that line of thinking?
Facts.
Thomas Sowell was born in North Carolina at the start of the Great Depression. His father died before he was born, his mother soon after. When he was 9, a relative took him to Harlem.
We were much poorer than the people in Harlem or most anywhere else today. But in another sense, in the sense of the things you need to get ahead, I was enormously more fortunate than most black kids today.
Partly because a friend showed him the Harlem Public Library.
When you start getting in the habit of reading when you're 8 years old, that's a different ballgame.
His reading and early life experiences turned him into a Marxist.
So I would take the Fifth Avenue bus, past all these Lord and Taylor and all these fancy places, and then suddenly there were the tenements. And I wondered, why is this? It's so different. And nothing in the schools or most of the books seemed to deal with that, and Marx dealt with that.
What then changed him was his first job.
I was a summer intern at the U.S. Department of Labor. One of my biggest concerns was about minimum wages. At first I thought, well, this is good because all these people are poor and they'll get a little higher income, and so that'll be helpful. And then as I studied economics, I began to see, well, there's a downside. They may lose their jobs completely. And when I came up with how we might test this, I was waiting to hear congratulations, you see, that I had this. And I could see these people were stunned. They said, oh, this idiot has stumbled on something that will ruin us all. And I realized the U.S. Department of Labor had its own agenda and interests. And that did not necessarily mean that whether poor people lost their jobs for minimum wages or got higher pay was their highest priority.
He found out that people in the government didn't give a rip whether or not it worked or didn't work. They were simply implementing the policy. And that's what shocked him and caused him to begin to rethink lots of his assumptions.
These video clips come from a new documentary about Sowell.
This whole notion that the black family has always been disintegrating, that is nonsense.
What I find most interesting about Sowell's work is that it utterly contradicts what Americans are taught about black poverty. Sowell says claims of systemic racism in America are propaganda.
If you go back into the 20s, you find that married couple families were much more prevalent among blacks then. As late as 1930, blacks had lower unemployment rates than whites. So all these things that we complain about and attribute to the era of slavery, those things should have been worse in the past than in the present.
Sowell says the bigger cause of blacks' problems today is welfare.
You began to have the mindset that goes with the welfare state, so that there was no stigma any longer attached, for example, to being on relief.
The things they thought were going to help did not help, and in many cases made things worse. Sowell concluded that many government programs did much more harm than good because of affirmative action.
Something like 1/4 of all the black students going to MIT do not graduate. You're talking about a pool of people whom you are artificially turning into failures by mismatching them with the school.
Saying such things doesn't make Sowell popular with today's political elites, but he doesn't seem to care.
Tom is absolutely fearless. He will not compromise any of his opinions for the sake of social politeness.
And so today's politically correct media rarely give his work the attention it deserves.
The media, the television and the print media, they've wised up. You can't argue with Tom, so you might as well hide what he's doing. And that's what they're doing. They're just ignoring what he's written because There's no way that they can argue with Tom Sowell.
Today, Sowell is a scholar at Stanford's Hoover Institution. He continues to write books about public policy. You can watch the full Sowell documentary at any of these sites starting next week.
Well, guys, there's something I was reading from Sowell this morning. There was just one thing I could collect, or like I could say one word that Sowell said. He said, when people get used to profession, guys, please forgive me with my words that I'm about to pronounce. I'm so sorry if I not pronounce it right. Is it preferential? Like I don't really know. Is it preferential treatment? Is that when people get used to preferential treatment, equal treatment seems like discrimination. Let me come again. Let me say it again. Is that when people get used to preferential treatment, then equal treatment seems like discrimination, and it's so relatable, very 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 relatable. And you see the capitalist feels entitled to it. Like, for what? I just love the way Thomas Sowell does his things. Like, Thomas Sowell has a very good gift. Like, he knows how to, should I say, emphasize things in a simple way, factual and concise way. Like, the way he does his things is so good, and in a correct way, in a very simple way for someone to understand. That's just what, like, the way he breaks things into pieces, the way he breaks it with his knowledge, with his wisdom. Gosh, Thomas Sowell is very very gifted, and that's what I love about him. He's just so knowledgeable. God, I just pray God to give him long life, so that all this he's saying, all this, like all of his words, his wisdom will like, I don't even know what to say. I lack words to describe how I feel about Thomas Sowell right now. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comment section. Watch, like, and subscribe to my channel. Bye bye, and have a great day ahead.